So first of all, as Chelsea mentioned, Genty and Maria's family is going to be moving back to New York. This is their last Sunday, so we will miss them. And if you didn't know already, I apologize for the short notice, and please use the opportunity to say goodbye this week. We will hold a place for you guys for when you come back in our hearts. Yeah. It's really been wonderful having their family here, and so it's just goodbye for now. So yesterday, if you were at the pledge service, Pastor Doni gave a short message about for our Holy Day service, and she talked a little bit about True Parents Day and their wedding anniversary, blessing anniversary. So today I wanted to focus on the other holiday that we're celebrating, which is Heavenly Parents Day. And I was reflecting a little bit a couple weeks ago on nature, which is frankly not typical for me. But we had all this kind of crazy weather. I'm sure you noticed. A few weeks ago, we had the kind of like a snow and ice storm kind of thing. I don't know if I call it ice storm, but there was a lot of water that froze on flowers. So, we had all these daffodils coming up in the yard, and then they looked so nice, and it was spring and everything, and then they had this like coat of ice on them, and I was like, man, that's such a drag. They're gonna die or whatever. But I guess because it didn't get too cold and because it didn't last too long, they just kind of bounced back. It was really quite amazing. And I was thinking to myself, these flowers, they're very delicate in a lot of ways. They're very fragile, but yet they could withstand being surrounded by ice and weighed down by snow and still bounce back. And I thought, I couldn't survive that. If I was standing outside and I was surrounded by ice, I would probably have died, like that's not something that human body's really made to withstand. But somehow these flowers in nature, even though we have like the 80-mile-per-hour windstorm that came through and like this crazy snow yesterday and everything, still everything is just, of course there's damage, but the flowers, the trees, everything is they just bounce back. There's a resilience there that I was thinking about. Man, like nature is really resilient. Like it can withstand a lot of weight and battering. And I thought it's a testament to maybe the way that God designed this world. Definitely a testament to maybe we can't withstand that level of nature, but definitely God designed human beings with a certain degree of resilience. Like we can handle a lot of difficulty in our life. It doesn't mean that we're not without maybe some scars or some damage, but we can still handle a lot and still come forward with some level of optimism or hope in our life. And that's pretty amazing because even God didn't intend for us to have to live in the world as it is. This isn't God's design to live in the world and to have to grow up with, pain and suffering and disappointment. But yet still, we manage somehow. And in today we celebrating Heavenly Parents Day, so it's kind of our day to really pay respect and honor to God, for God, who He is, and the blessings that we have in our life. And I was thinking that God didn't create anything that couldn't stand the test of time, that could not be resilient. And I think that's a lesson for us as well, that even we have emergencies or difficulties that come up in our life, things that we have to deal with in the moment, and it can be very easy to just focus on those things. But I think it's a reminder for us, don't forget the long term. Don't forget to create and be a part of something that can withstand the test of time, that can be resilient. And I think it was also a lesson for me that no matter how resilient something is, it's still going to be affected by the environment. It's still going to be affected by the things that happen to us. And so that's also a reminder that God is that way as well. God, as resilient as God must be, God cannot be unaffected by the world, by the situation that his children are in, the things that are happening in the world, both the good and the bad. God is not separated from that. God is not unaffected by it. There's a couple quotes I want to read from Reverend Moon. He said that, "To this day, we human beings have thought of God as the God of glory, not the God of suffering or pain. Many religions in history have taught this, and believers have led their lives of faith with this idea. But the truth is that God is in the situation where he has lost his family, his children, his property, his nation, and his world. Our Father is in that kind of situation. We have thought that once we meet our Father, all our pain and suffering will be dissolved and all our wishes fulfilled. However, when I came to meet our Heavenly Parent, after seeking him for so long, I discovered that everything he owns, his children, his property, even the whole world, was in the hands of the enemy. God is not seated upon a throne, receiving praise and glory. Instead, God is weeping bitterly every day as he works to save fallen human beings. This has long been God's situation, even as he guides humankind. God is in such pain as he tries to save people from the pit of misery into which they have fallen, to awaken them, shouting, 'Come, come to me.' But even though God does all that, he cannot force people to come to him. We must fulfill our portion of responsibility. God cannot do our part for us, though he may want to. How difficult this is for God." So when Jesus came, he really elevated our understanding of who God is, right? Up until that point, people believed in many gods. People believed that they believed in God, the one God. Then God was a master. God was somebody that you didn't want to anger, because if you did the wrong thing or if you anger God, then you would be smitten or you would be punished. But Jesus, through his parables and through the things that he directly taught, really showed us a different side of God. And it's something that has honestly taken us until now to really digest who we see God is. But even that being said, Jesus himself told us that he couldn't really reveal everything that he wanted to reveal to us. And I think that that must be true about who is God, as well as probably other things as well. So eventually came to pass that 2,000 years later, now we're starting to learn about God on a deeper level. Learning that God is much more than even a God of covenants and promises, but a God who more closely resembles a parent or a grandparent, as we talked about last week. One that sincerely desires to have a real relationship with his children. All children, not just those who believe a certain way or who accept a certain belief, but every single person that exists in this world. This is the same God that we can also deeply observe in nature and in science and in history, working in history, as well as in our own personal lives. A God that is everywhere if we're willing and open to seeing it. And a God that is very concerned about the restoration of the family. I think that's another dynamic of God that Jesus wasn't able to reveal to us. And that we as a society and even in the religious world have really neglected. Here's another quote. "You should not frown on or lament the environment we see around us. We should not despair at social injustice. Instead, we should become people who are able to forget our sorrowful hearts with the joy of looking at a single blade of grass growing. Such a person will remain into the new age. A person who seeks a relationship with God is one who seeks the ideal in the world of heart. When you look at a blade of grass, try to feel the amazing heart behind it. God is there, and eternal life is there. You should not look at a mountain peak with the same feeling from one day to the next. If we could experience a different feeling in each season, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and could sing of each unique feeling, wouldn't it be wonderful? Such a person is one who can harmonize with all of nature. So the more that we learn about the universe and creation, the more in awe we become of God. At least that's my personal perspective and feeling about it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm getting a little bit older or whatever. My perspective on life has shifted a little bit, or maybe with having children. I don't know exactly what it is. But I think often about how amazing it is the way life works. Because, I mean, I don't know if you think about this, but like life it always starts from something really small, right? A seed, an egg, a baby. The universe, the Big Bang, starts from something tiny, and within that, whatever it is, exists all the material and the instructions to create an elephant or a human being or a broccoli plant, whatever. Within that seed exists all the necessary information, plus nutrients and sunlight and food and water and all these things, to create the mature grown thing. It's really, I don't know, I just think it's really quite amazing. I don't know why, just these days I think about it. And, we now are, I don't know how they do it, physicists and astrologers, I don't know. They're able to look back to the origins of the universe. And, I went onto the website, the Institute of Physics. And this is what they have to say about the origin of the universe. Most physicists believe the universe was born in a Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago. In it, the energy making up everything in the cosmos we see today was squeezed inside an inconceivably small space, far tinier than a grain of sand or even an atom. Then this unimaginably hot and dense cauldron, for whatever reason, ballooned at a terrifying rate. In the very first second of the universe's experience, our understanding of what was going on is surprisingly good. That's what they say. I have no idea how they know this stuff. Like, how is it understanding surprisingly good? Anyway, it's not for me to question. In another life, I would find this study very fascinating. Like, in another life, I would be really interested in becoming a physicist or learning about these, studying the origin of the universe. How cool would that be? But not now. Let's see, where was I? We know that the concepts of time, space, and the laws of physics very quickly solidified. Understand that point. Before that moment, there did not exist time, or space, or the laws of physics. From there, order started to emerge out of chaos. First, to take shape were subatomic particles like quarks, then bigger particles like protons and neutrons. About 3 minutes later, it's so specific, the universe had cooled to 1 billion Celsius. This allowed protons and neutrons to come together through fusion and form nuclei, the charged cores of atoms. But after 20 minutes, the universe was no longer hot enough for fusion. What was left was a hot, cloudy soup of electrons and hydrogen and helium nuclei. This stage lasted for about 380,000 years. Eventually, the cosmos cooled enough for electrons to pair up with nuclei and make the first atoms. It then took hundreds of millions of years for the first stars to form and light up the darkness. and even longer for the universe to start to resemble what we see today. I mean, I just find it very fascinating and very uncanny that all of life develops a certain way in this world. And literally the entire universe and the cosmos develop pretty much, I mean, not exactly the same way, but like when you look at it, the same kind of way of development. It started from something tiny. I mean, they first start off by saying it was the size of a grain of sand, and then they say, well, it was more maybe closer to the size of an atom. That's a big difference. But something that tiny essentially had the instructions and the makeup for the entire universe. When I read that, I just think that is like a very specific way of the universe coming into being. Not only all the material things that we see, but the laws of physics and time itself. I feel like, yes, you could probably be very skeptical and say, oh, that's just the way that that the universe was created. It has nothing to do with a God. But I feel like that's a stretch. Like, that's a very creative endeavor. That's a very intentional process. Like, there has to have been something that made that happen. Something had to have created that to happen in a certain way. And I just feel like the more that we learn about this world, the more it's like, you know, that doesn't mean that we automatically have a relationship with this God, but it's just like, it's visible in everything that we see, except for society, sadly speaking. I mean, people, yes, but like, oh man, we have so many problems, right? But when I see that, and this is not a religious site, or this is the Institute of Physics, whatever that is, and I don't know, it's quite really mind-boggling to me, and it for me makes me feel like this God, all this effort to create this world, to create this nature, to create the universe but there's something that happens before the seed. And that is the idea of the seed. That is the idea of what the seed will eventually grow into. And that, in some ways, is very similar, is the way that we really can, I guess, in some ways, follow in our Heavenly Parents' footsteps. Because we are not beyond the realm of time and space. We cannot create a universe. But God gave us the ability to create. God created us the ability to be creative. In the principle, it says that God made us to be co-creators. And that God's original hope for his children was that we would mature and that we would co-create. And that whatever we co-created as mature children would bring joy and return beauty to God. And so at the end of the day, it's actually something that's really precious that we have, is this opportunity to envision an idea like God did. God wanted to create this universe and this world and his children because God wanted an object. God wanted to experience love with something. And God established how that would work. And we have a similar opportunity in our life, both through having our own families and envisioning like what kind of family do I want to have, and having the opportunity to raise children and grandchildren, but also to be able to have an inspiration, an idea, something that we would like to do, and to be able to take that from essentially being nothing and to create something from nothing. And so it's a very simple concept and something I think that maybe we take for granted. But it's something that we can do whether we're young, whether we're old, different stage of life. Each and every one of us can have an inspiration of what I would like to come of my life, what I would like to start and create and be a part of. And, if we're fortunate and put enough effort into like God did, then we can see that become a reality. And I think that's one way that we can inherit God's desire for our life and return beauty to God. So I'd like, to consider you to ask yourself, what do you want to create in your life? What kind of family do you want to have? What kind of impact do you want to leave or make in your environment, in your community, in this world? I think we're never at a place where that's out of reach for us. So that's my brief message today. That is it. Have a wonderful Holy Day celebration. I'll finish with a prayer. Good morning, our dearest Heavenly Parent. We thank you for this day and the opportunity for us to come together with brothers and sisters around the world celebrating Heavenly Parents' Day, True Parents' wedding anniversary, and ultimately, Heavenly Parent, really taking time to recognize and we don't even understand to what degree, Heavenly Parent, you have invested and in so many ways suffered to enable us to get to this point today, Heavenly Parent. And yet still, even though there are many good things that we can point at in this world and point at in our own lives, Heavenly Parent, there is still so much suffering in this world and hardship that you experience every moment, because we are your children and you can't just ignore your children's or be indifferent to your children's situations, Heavenly Parent. And you want to see us experiencing love and being joyful, but you can't do that for us, Heavenly Parent. But you do so much for us. You've done so much for us, and you've had such a hope for each and every one of our lives, Heavenly Parent. You have hopes and dreams for us that we are not aware of, and we ourselves don't believe in, that's possible for us. I hope and pray, Heavenly Parent, that on today, this Heavenly Parents' Day, as we celebrate these holy days, that we can remember these things, that we can really give honor to you and thank you for, Heavenly Parent, being a part of our lives, Heavenly Parent, for believing in us, for hoping in us, for never giving up on us, Heavenly Parent, for guiding us to have gotten this far, Heavenly Parent. And we really hope and pray, Heavenly Parent, that each and every one of us can take where we've come and go further with it, Heavenly Parent, that we can support each other on this difficult journey of life and really express our gratitude to you and for those that you have sent to us to help us, Heavenly Parent, for Jesus and for our true parents who have helped us to understand your heart better and have helped us to see how we can get to you. And we have a long way to go, but we also want to really appreciate how far we've come and to really thank you for helping us to get here. And we look forward to walking on this journey together with you, and I offer this prayer in our names, this blessed and families. Amen. And adieu. Thank you.